Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. In the previous video, we just quickly went through how to navigate and quickly just review the programs and do a little bit of research. In this video, we'll go into a little bit more in-depth version of how to research for programs in a way that is efficient and effective for you throughout the season. So the first thing, as we had gone through in the previous video, you just type in the specialty that you're applying to into my ERAS, and then it will give you a list of all the programs that are participating in the match. I think like family medicine was in the ballpark of 200-300 programs. So what I did was I filtered it by state and then printed it out, because that's personally what works for me. I personally like pen and paper. Other people just like to do Excel sheets, and that's fine too. Excel sheets I think have a little bit more of an added benefit that you can filter the data based on certain parameters, which obviously you can't do on pen and paper, but whatever works for you. So basically you just need to get the list of all the programs that you're applying to. Like I said, filtered it by state. The next thing, in order to be efficient about your time, is just Google for this year which are the states that are the most IMG friendly and which are the states that are the least IMG friendly. So that way you can structure the states that you're going to prioritize, because this is a very tedious and long-winded process. So what you want to do is optimize your time and be efficient. That's what we're going to do first. So the first thing that you want to do is research all the states that have the greatest probability of accepting IMGs. So now it's time to get started, now that we have a general structure. The next thing that we need to do is categorize the information, all right? And this is very important, because it will basically form a way of how much time you spent researching a given program. And this may vary based on individual, but there are certain criteria that are really important for certain people and less important for other people. For instance, if you require a J1 visa or a H1 visa, you are not going to apply or waste time researching a program that does not offer it, right? As an IMG, it's really important to structure the information into categories. Here are some categories that you may want to consider if your application is less than perfect, which is okay. You know, there are a lot of people that have red flags, but how do we be smart about it, all right? So I intentionally mentioned this because I really want to be authentic. I've had red flags in my application. It wasn't a smooth sailing process for me, and it just goes to show that it doesn't necessarily have to be perfect. You know, most people's lives are not perfect, and that's okay. You just have to deal with the cards that you're dealt and optimize what you have, right? You can't give up. There are several categories that I think that you need to have, whether you do it through a column on an Excel sheet or you do it through a different color or symbol as you're going through pen and paper. So first being visa status. If that's important to you and you need to have visa in order to be legally allowed to work, that's the very first thing. Don't apply to a program that doesn't offer you a visa. Don't waste your time on it. Click, move on to the next one. Next thing, minimum and average step scores. Step 1 is now pass or fail, but step 2 is still graded. So you want to make sure that your qualifications fall within the parameters of their requirements, right? So if you got a really low board score and their average of successful residents is like in the top 1%, it would probably not be the best thing to apply there. It may be a suboptimal choice. Not to say that you can't match there. Stranger things have happened, but it's a suboptimal option. The next category that I think is important to know is the percent of US graduates versus IMGs. This is important because then that way you can see, is this program friendly to IMGs, or do they only take American medical graduates? And there are more than one ways to do this, but this is a category that you want to look into. Frida does have a percentage, if I remember correctly. They do have a percentage of American medical grads versus international medical graduates. Another way to do it is just to look at the last 3 years of residence, and oftentimes the program will list the medical school that the resident attended, and then from that you can see what does the program primarily lean towards, right? So that's a good way to gauge likelihood of matching within that category. The next one I would say is a little bit more deeper is if you're from a Caribbean versus a non-Caribbean school. Look at the percentage of people. This is not like a number that you will necessarily find, but as I said, you can go through the last 3 years of residence and see, are they primarily Caribbean IMGs or are they non-Caribbean IMGs? Because again, you can see what kind of demographics make up this program and if you are a good fit. The next thing is, just to make your life easier, I would make sure to have the contact information for the program, the accreditation ID, because as you saw in the previous video, you can search your programs by the accreditation ID, which is just a lot easier. It just gives you the program. So you want to have that contact information just to make your life easier. And the next thing you want to have is a note of the website, just if it's pertinent, so that, you know, sometimes if the website that's listed on AAMC is not the best one that you found for the information that you need, then you don't have to research it all over again. It's already there. The next thing is something that I did that I found personally useful. You don't really need to do this, but I think it was just useful because if I was already researching programs, then I didn't really, you know, want to have to redo anything. So I would put one interesting fact that I found about the program that I could mention when reaching out to programs or mention in an interview if I got one. And one question that I had that was not already addressed through my research. And this is very important, and we will discuss that a little bit later in my subsequent videos. But these are the categories that I would absolutely have. And that is a good way to sort through the programs and figure out which programs are right for you and in an efficient manner. The next thing is, now you have determined that a particular program is a good fit for you. Now you want to look at the actual program. And again, I like to break it up into categories because we want to structure our information. All right, so the first thing that you want to know is the program opposed or unopposed. This will give you an idea of the spectrum of practice that you will have experience with throughout residency. If you want to have a more hands-on approach where, you know, you get to do a lot more stuff, unopposed typically is the one that people will opt for. Opposed typically means that you have other residency programs and other residents alongside you. For example, if I'm in an unopposed program, then that means that there are no other pediatric residents, there aren't any internal medicine residents and things like that. So you have a little bit greater scope of practice because you get to see more. You get to see more of a patient population that would otherwise be seen by the other specialty, as long as it falls within the spectrum of family medicine. The next thing that really varies depending on the program and the applicant is emphasis on OB. If you like obstetrics and you want to have a lot of experience, you want to go to a program that emphasizes obstetrics education very heavily. All family medicine programs by requirement have to have some obstetrics training. But if you're really hardcore about it, you want to make sure that the program that you're applying to emphasizes it a great deal. Vice versa, if you don't really like obstetrics, probably shouldn't go to a program that heavily emphasizes obstetrics training as part of your family medicine overall training. The next thing you want to know about the program is, does the program have its own service? So not all family medicine programs have their own service. I can say this for my program has a family medicine service. So when I say service, meaning that we admit our own patients from our family medicine clinic into the hospital. So when we have inpatient rotation, the patients that we see are our patients from the family medicine clinic. And this is for continuity of care. Again, this is not true for all programs, so you want to know, because that kind of changes things. If you don't necessarily have your own service, you probably want to ask if there are other specialties like internal medicine that you work alongside and you're part of the team, you know, that can vary. So you want to know, does your program have its own service inpatient? The next thing is, how much time does your program allot for ambulatory clinic? And the reason I say this is because if you're very interested in pursuing outpatient family medicine, you would like to attend a program that gives you the greatest range of experience outpatient, versus if you're interested in hospital medicine, you may not want to have a program that primarily only focuses on outpatient medicine. You want something that has more inpatient medicine. The next thing that you want to do is ask about or find out about, where do the residents go after residency? Do they pursue fellowships or do they go into the workforce? And this will give you an idea about what the program is looking for and what are the overall general values of the program. If you have 90% of the residents that go into fellowship, it seems likely that the program urges or wishes people to pursue fellowships and vice versa. If you see that the program's values are to increase primary care physicians within the area, you will likely have more people that pursue practice, but whether it's academia, whether it's private practice, whatever it may be. That's not to say that, if you go to a place that has a lot of people that pursue fellowship, you can't just go into practice after residency, but it just gives you a better idea of the values of the program. The next thing is the emphasis on research versus QI projects. If you're really interested in research, you want to make sure that the program has the research support and the faculty that actually do research. Not all programs will have that, and if you are really interested in that, it's important to see what are ongoing projects that the program has, which faculties are involved in research, what are their research support resources, things of that nature. The next thing is, what is the degree of community involvement? This is, I guess, just a better idea to understand the culture of the program and to see what kinds of activities the residents do and what kind of things are offered in the community. That's another thing. Now we'll move on to a quick overview of the paid options. So there are certain websites like Match a Resident that provide you with what they say is that you put in your qualifications and your scores or everything, and then they will pull out the best set of programs that are available for you based on your qualifications. Me personally, I'm a little bit more of a thorough person, and not to say that isn't thorough, but I just have a greater sense of satisfaction when I know that I have gone through all the programs that I think that I would be a good fit at, and it just makes me feel more confident. But if you're short on time, that is definitely a good option. The other thing is that when it comes to those websites, I would trust but always verify, because sometimes, they say that the information is updated. In my experience, I have found the one time that I used it, it wasn't necessarily updated, and I personally did not garner as much benefit from utilizing that service, so I don't think I would recommend it, but there are other people who found it to be a fantastic resource. That's something that you can determine if it's right for you. But again, whatever the information is there, I would trust but verify. The only source that you can trust completely is the program's website or the program itself, not anything else. Whether it's Frida, whether it's some other residency information website, the only thing that you can trust is the program's website itself. And let's say the program doesn't have the information that you need. That is just a fantastic question for you to ask the program when you do reach out to them. Overall, I hope this was useful, and I wish you guys all the luck. Good luck. Everything will be fine. It's going to be great.